Greetings, grade 11 and 12. I'm back with another session. My name is Dr. Pele of Mathematics Seeker. I've heard many people are crying that Euclidean geometry, more specifically the circle geometry, is challenging. The circle geometry is difficult, which is not. Today, I'll be tackling around the Euclidean geometry from its inception. Let's talk of Euclidean geometry. What are the prerequisites of the Euclidean geometry? Which concept which you need to understand before you attempt to deal with a circle geometry or the theorems? There are things which you need to understand before you go around the theorems. You need to understand the types of angles. You need to understand the types of triangles before attempting to do Euclidean geometry. You need to understand the quadrilaterals. I'll discuss everything later. You need to understand the parallel and the perpendicular lines, their properties, the properties of quadrilaterals. You need to understand their identities. These are the things which make up the Euclidean geometry. You need to understand those things. These are the basic things which you need to understand before you attempt to deal with the circle geometry, before you attempt to deal with the theorems. Because the examiners, they play around those things which I've mentioned. I said number one, you need to understand the types of angles. What are the types of angles you know? We can talk of the obtuse angles. We can talk of the right angle. There are many types of angles which you need to understand. Go read about the types of angles. Read about the types of triangles. What are the types of triangles you know? We have the right angle triangle, the lateral triangle, the isosceles triangle. Read about those things and their properties. You can read about the properties of congruency in the types of triangles. These things will help you to understand the Euclidean geometry. Euclidean geometry starts there. Then we go on, you read about the quadrilaterals. What are the quadrilaterals? We know that the quadrilateral is a polygon with 4 sides. A quadrilateral is a polygon with 4 sides. A polygon, I mean a shape with 4 sides. That is a quadrilateral. Read about the properties of quadrilaterals. More specifically, when we talk about the quadrilaterals, we are talking about the parallelograms, referring to parallelograms. Read about these parallelograms. You know that the square is a parallelogram, the kite is a parallelogram, the rhombus, there are many parallelograms. Read about their properties, understand them. Right. They go and read about the parallel lines. We know that if two angles are corresponding, we have parallel lines. The alternative angles, they are equal, which means we have what? Parallel lines. When you have parallel lines, which means you have alternative angles, then the co-interior angles, they add up to 180 degrees, which means are supplementary, right? Then now it means we are talking about the parallel lines. Read about them. The co-interior angles are supplementary. If they were complementary, we're supposed to be adding up to 90 degrees. Now they're adding up to 180 degrees, means they're supplementary. Read about those things. Read about them. Then you go on, you read about the identities. In grade 11, we have done what we call the quotient identity, where the sine of theta divided by the cos of theta is equal to the tan of theta. That's the quotient identity. Read about it, understand it, and know how to prove it. Then read about the square identity. We know that the sine theta squared plus the cos theta squared is equal to 1. That is a square identity. Read about it. Read about the square identity. Know how to prove the square identity. Go to grade 12. We have the identities also. We have the compound and the double angles. Read about those things before you attempt to deal with the Euclidean geometry. In the next video, I'm going to prove the theorems. Here I'm giving you the basics. I'm building you I want you to go and read about these things which I've mentioned before you attempt to deal with the Euclidean geometry, before you attempt to deal with the circle geometry. Before you attempt to do circle geometry, please go and read about everything I've mentioned. So the types of angles, the types of triangles, quadrilaterals, parallel perpendicular lines, the identities. Read about those things. Read about them. Then in the next video, I'm going to prove the theorems. I'm going to prove the theorems and do a few questions. Then you can check the comment section. There is a group link to join our WhatsApp session. The sessions are free. We are hosting the free sessions on WhatsApp. You can check our comment section. You see the video. Thank you. Have a wonderful day or night.